Hi, Internet viewers. This is Frank Rauscher again. We're finally getting to the point of finishing the finch, the house finch. We have it all painted. We have the feet in. They're not glued, so I'm going to show you how to do that. And I'm going to show you how I mount these as far as on a piece of driftwood, but there's a variety of ways you can do it. You could have a hanging branch coming down and have it as a wall hanging. You can have a base model, which is what I'm going to show you, and you can attach the bird to that. And I'm going to give you one of the setups that I do so you can have an idea on how to do it for yourself. Okay, so bear with me. We are going to finalize the house finch. So bear with me and I'll take you on to the next step here and we're going to finish. Thank God. Okay, we're back again. I'm going to try to give you some ideas on how to mount the bird. This is a base, and I have round bases and square ones and what have you. If you're ever looking for a base, I have those available. I also want to let you know that on the driftwood itself, driftwood could come, you can get big pieces like this, just to give you an idea, and some of this is interesting and some isn't. Remember, when you're using a bandsaw, you can cut that off like right across here and have a nice piece, and it doesn't have to be so big. And then in some cases, you want to mount something standing like this, on a base. I would cut this flat, and then you can mount a bird up top here. And say like ours that we're doing here, let me move this. You could mount your bird on top of the piece of wood, but sometimes you don't want it standing so high, so you could cut this back too. So just to give you ideas, don't just because you have a big piece of driftwood doesn't mean you have to use the whole thing, and you can cut it, you can cut sections of it off, and it really presents itself very nicely. You just got to use your imagination on it and what shows up best. A lot of times I collect smaller pieces that look interesting that you could put on a base and then mount your bird onto it and so on, and gives you an idea. And I'll collect all kinds of interesting pieces of wood and wash them, brush them out, make sure you get it all cleaned up. I don't really prep with paint or anything like that, or a sealer. Most of this stuff has been sitting around long enough. There shouldn't be a problem. The biggest thing I need to do is I'll put this on a sander to get it to lay flat on a base like this one here. I had the pieces, I'll run this through the bandsaw this way and get my piece of wood out. And then I put it on the sander so it lays flat on a base, okay? Now, in the case of the piece I'm using for the house finch, I got this piece of wood. It just seemed to interest me somewhat. So I have, you can see it here, I have it pretty much anchored on, and what I used is a sheetrock screw, and I drilled through the base. But a lot of other times what I'll do is I'll get like 5-minute epoxy like this, and if you ever need 5-minute epoxy, I have it in these containers and I sell them like this. And you could get these, it's a 2-parter. You mix it up and then you apply it on the underneath side. Instead of drilling it, you could just lay your, you want to do it on the inside of your wood so that when you sit it down, if it oozes a little bit, it doesn't come all the way out, so you don't want it showy, okay? And if it does, I got ways around that too. So what I'm doing is I'm using this piece of driftwood. I attached it to the base. And in this case, I really didn't glue it that much. There was a piece that sort of fell off and I glued that back in again. So I wanted to keep that intact. So in that case, I used what I call a tacky glue, which was, you can get this at any craft show, craft house, Michael's or the AC Moore's where I got this, but they're out of business now. So you can get this elsewhere. So what I want to explain to you is, in the case of the finch, I want the finch to sit up on top of the piece. I don't know if you can see this well or what, and I'm going to try to mount it that way. So what I do is I get a drill to the size of the post of whatever wire or post you have, and I get it a little bit bigger. I come in and I get an awl, and I pretty much try to figure out what is the best position to mount this bird. And I usually like it on top, but you can have it down below here too. It all depends on the setting and what you're trying to create. So I'll come in here and I'll try to set it up to say, okay, that looks pretty good there. So let me try that. So I sort of position where the posts want to go and get attached. And in the case of this one, if I could see it myself, excuse me with the camera, got my head in the road here. I figured I'd put a hole right in here. And so I pushed the awl in there. And then I also wanted to get a hole over here. I thought that was the best spot. And that way I can then get my drill. And like I said, I got the drill and I drilled in, and the awl making the hole, I just start to drill out slow and then go inward, and that's how I get the holes in for the base. For the birds, excuse me. Now, I have to bend some of this wire, I should say post. If you used wire, it would have been wire, but this happens to be a casting. So the way this is angled, I'm going to stick this into this hole over here, and then I'm going to stick this one over here, and then I'm going to tilt this so you can see it. I'm spreading the toes out, but I'm trying to get everything real close so you don't see the post. And there it is there. Now, if the legs are bending out too far, I want you to sort of look at it in that view, looking in, to make sure that everything is correct atomically, so you're not forcing things on that don't look right. So in the case of this, I like that position. I like the way the bird is sitting. I'm trying to tilt this so you could see it as if you were looking inward instead of down on it. And then what I'll do, now that I have this all set up, I'm going to get the 5-minute epoxy. I'll mix these two together. You only need a small amount on a little pad, and then I stir it, and then I'll get a little rod like this, could be any kind of wire, and you take it out, and the first thing you do is you put some glue into the post that goes into the body. I've drilled it pretty close, so I'll get the glue in there, and you don't want it to ooze out so much, so I'm going in here and I'm putting that back. And I apologize for the last video. I sort of got it off screen. I feel as though I'm doing that again sometime, and I don't realize that I'm talking, but I'm drifting this way or that way. So I apologize on that. But anyway, you don't want to get so much glue in the hole that it oozes out, because you want to just get it to hold that. Now, before it sets, I also want you to get some glue in here and some glue in here, and just enough, to get it in there. And you could put a little bit on a post, but very little. And then get this and plug that in and plug this in. Now, on 5-minute epoxy, you have 5 minutes to work with it, or a little bit more. So that's the nice thing. Now, once you get it in position and it hardens after about maybe 10 or 15 minutes, you can reposition the bird, tilt it back or forward the way you want to see it. Now, in the case of this one, and I don't know how much you see well on this, I'm going to embellish areas of it that I think would be helpful for the setting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this. Here is what I call reindeer moss, okay? And it's ideal for coming in and, let's see. I don't know if that's the best spot for it. Maybe I'll put a little bit back here and try to tuck that in. So I'm going to put a little bit of reindeer moss on there. I'm going to get a little bit over here and plug that in. And then I may even change that around. That looks good there. And then I'll put a little bit under here. And that just sort of sets up, so it gives you a little more interest within the base. There's other things you can do too. I collect like little pieces of fungus that grow on trees, and I break it off, and I'll stick it onto the wood that's existing here, and it looks like it's growing off, and you can glue them on. And that's another way. Or you can get little berries or something like that and put that around. If I were doing a shorebird or something like that, you can put some sand in and stuff like that. Another one I did one time, and I'll show you this just to give you other ideas, is I did a sandpiper, and they're usually pecking around on the ground. And if I kept this as a base by itself, and I actually carved the stones so that the bird can have its own base of stones. But if you want it, you could put this on a base and have sand all around the stones and present it that way too. So that's another way of doing it. This is a little dusty, so it doesn't present the stones as well, and the bird is not finished. The bird is primed, but it's ready to be painted, okay? So just trying to give you different ideas on different items that I do here. And so what you would do for this is, you would get your tacky glue, you come in, you add some of the glue on the bottom here, and then you'd push it in. And then I'll come along and get a little bit on the back side of this one as well, like so, and then push it in. Okay. Don't want to get that all over the place. And then I'll do a little bit on the back side here too, and I'll push that in. And that sort of enhances it. And I have it in a darker green and a lighter green like there's now, and that seems to set it up pretty nicely. So that's something I like to do. And like I said, with everything glued in, we're all set. And there is the setting for the house finch. So I hope you guys enjoyed the project. And I am going to start another bird. It won't be available just yet. I'm in the process of working it up. I'm going to do a wren, and I'll show you like early stages of it. I'm doing a wren that's going to be fat and chubby with its tail up, and I started burning this in, getting the feathers relieved like it is on the side. I still have the belly to do, and the rump, and the tail and everything else. So I will be putting this on in a couple of weeks. Once I get this done, then I'll start and we'll go into the project of doing the Carolina wren. This is the larger of the wrens. And I've done smaller ones as well, which this isn't my best example. This is an older one I did. This one here is a house wren, which is much smaller. And then there's winter wrens as well, and they're kind of interesting to do. So I think the wrens have a personality of their own, and I think once we get going on this, I think you'll enjoy doing that as well. So I hope to see you on the next video, and we finally wrapped this one up. So I hope you got something out of this. We're trying to do different things on different birds to give you an idea how to do everything. So I hope you learned something from this. And if you did, please give me a thumbs up and give me subscribe to my channel, and I'd appreciate that. And also, if you have any questions in the comments section, please do that, or email me, and I'll be glad to help you out on any of the issues. And any of the things that I use, I usually have available. So if you need anything, definitely give me a holler and let me know what you may need, and I'll try to accommodate you, okay? Or if you need some help in a certain area. So thanks again, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye now.